Watching a great basketball player is like watching a great jazz artist. Players of the Harlem Globetrotters were similar to a lot of black men in that generation.
Blacks couldn't. They had small lungs. They couldn't jump. They couldn't do heavy bones. They weren't coachable. Can you imagine? They can't jump.
Neat, huh?
During those earlier years, it was always looked at as if blacks were inferior.
They got the people, the fans, to believe that they were athletes, not just black.
Why, the fellow's simply phenomenal.
Round the back like that? Yeah.
They were not only great showmen, but they could play the game as well.
That's what it's all about, just going to playing good basketball, having fun.
We always use the ball behind the head play. If a guy's guarding you too close, you get the ball over your head, you stick the ball behind his head and you pull it back. He turns around to see where it is. That's always been a winner.
The style that the Globetrotters had became kind of like a style that started to pervade into the NBA game.
Globetrotters meant more to the NBA than the NBA meant to the Globetrotters.
They'd sell out, but they'd always play the first game. When they were through, half the house would get up and leave.
I'm not sure the NBA would have lasted long enough to ever integrate if the Globetrotters hadn't played games.
My Lakers, they lost to showboats, to tricksters.
It was one of the great historic games in American history.
Came along at a time when we needed champions in terms of human rights.
All of the racist arguments for keeping blacks out of basketball began to be undone with that game.
They were ambassadors as well as great athletes.
Any place else around the world we went, we didn't even know that we were African Americans if we didn't look in the mirror.
It was almost like the Pied Piper. When we looked around, everybody would be walking around and following us.
We certainly felt free to ask them to go to many places because they were such a terrific representative for the United States.
They are embraced as conquering heroes in Europe. Jesse Owens is welcomed back to Berlin with open arms.
This was a tremendous symbolic event.
They were able to prove that there was possibilities of change, that all was not evil in the United States.
For many of us, the Harlem Globetrotters means confetti, buckets of water, and basketball magic. But this is the story of a team that played serious basketball and faced even more serious opponents. Racism, anti-Semitism, and anti-Americanism. This is the story of a team that had a dream half a century before the Dream Team. This is the story of the team that changed the world. They've won more than 21,000 games. They've played in 117 countries. Today, stand where they have come from.
Well, I grew up in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and my grandparents would take me to see them. And we had very few opportunities to see African-American, athlete. When the Globetrotters came through, that was always a big deal because they were really good basketball players, but being pure entertainers at the same time.
It was in Chinook, Montana. They played in this swimming pool because it was the only surface that they had to play on in town that was paved. It was cement. That was kind of the indicative of the Globetrotters, is that they would play anywhere, anyhow, anytime.
I can remember going out to see shows at some of our old arenas here in the city and just laughing and having fun and believing that they were just about the best.
I, growing up, was living in Hawaii, which didn't have that many African Americans. And whenever the Globetrotters came into town, it was just a wonderful, fun-filled afternoon, but had, I think, some deeper meaning to it.
The Harlem Globetrotters,